What's going on, y'all? Mezariah here, and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about forgiving and the power of forgiving and the wisdom in forgiving because it can help us with our relationship with Christ. And I think some of the chapters that I have are in Mark and Matthew, and I think it's really important for us to know how to do it in balance and to know how to move when you are forgiving and to not be foolish when you do forgive. This is why the title of this video is called Forgiving with Wisdom, because so many of us have this thing where we are trying to forgive someone, but we think that we have to reconcile with them, and we really don't. And it's important to know the loop that you can go in, the infinite loop that you can go in with people when you don't know how to detach yourself after you have forgiven them. Some people you don't have to detach yourself. Some people you do, especially when it's long overdue, when it's somebody has been doing something to you over and over and over and over, and you're giving them multiple and multiple chances. And if you want to get out of that loop, you have to forgive with wisdom. Forgive with wisdom. And some of the reasons why people cannot forgive with that wisdom is because they are attached to certain people through relationship, through bonds, and through trauma, probably. And it's hard to let them go because you are so familiar with them. You are so used to them being next to you. You are so used to them being connected to you in a way, in a special way. They they can be ungodly soul ties. They can be tied to you in a way that y'all can be so similar in so many ways, and you find that you find peace in that familiar space. And but if this person is hurting you over and over and over, you have to know to detach yourself, to leave, and you have to know how to forgive at the same time, and to understand that everything happens together for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So when you are forgiving, be wise, because you can get pulled back, strung along, and you'll end up in a life of regret because you chose to keep going back to the same person. So let me give you some examples. So, for example, I'm a dreamer, right? And I see a lot of people do things to me in the spiritual realm. And most of the time, I'm already forgiving people before it even manifests because I see it manifest all the time. These are things that happen to me in the spirit, and I have to forgive before it happens. And which is such a cheat code that God gives us when He gives us the dreams and the visions of people doing things. You have the chance to forgive them quickly, and God does tell us to forgive quickly, which is so interesting. That is probably connected to the things that we see in the spiritual realm. I see them doing things all the time, and I have to forgive immediately because it's like, well, God gave me the time in advance to think about it, to sit on it, and just forgive. Because people are doing things continuously, just afflicting you, and it becomes so great that it's like, is this really happening? Like, is this all these people are really doing these things? Yes, they are, and especially when you prayed on it. Um, so here's how you know when you are truly forgiving. You have forgiven someone. When you have truly forgiven someone, here's how you know: when you are able to pray for them. When you are able to pray for them, that's the simplest thing, because I remember how hard it was for me before I was reborn, before I actually knew Christ on another level. It was praying for somebody that did me wrong was the hardest thing for me to do, and my heart was clogged with bitterness and hate, and most of it was provoked. It wasn't just because I wanted to hate people; it was because of people afflicted me. But I was able to see the power in forgiving and letting go, because that is one of the spiritual laws that we are supposed to walk in, is forgiving. And now when I see things and things happen to me, it's like the connection of the spiritual versus the physical, it all makes sense to me. So, and I realize when you see things in the spiritual before it happens in the physical, you don't really, the people that are doing those things don't understand what they are even doing in the first place. That's why God gave you that dream, so you can evade it and forgive them, because it most likely won't even affect you, because it probably won't manifest, because it won't even, because of you praying against whatever they are doing. And it keeps you in that repetitive cycle, which is a good thing, to continuously see people do these things and you're just forgiving them and forgiving them, because it builds your character up. It helps you stand against these attacks that come from the devil, that the devil uses people, that he uses them as a vehicle to do these things to you. So forgiving has become simple for me now. So when God shows me something in the spirit and he's telling me to not reconcile with certain people, it can look like that I am unforgiving. It can look like that. But that's not always the case, because God does not want you to reconcile, especially when God is continuously showing you dreams of the things of these that these people are still doing to you, right? And um when you see these people in your dreams repetitively after you have departed from them, then God is in a way showing you, in whatever way he is through your dreams, he is showing you to keep from them. I know in my dreams he's telling me to stay away from certain people. So if he's still telling you to stay away from certain people, that means he is answering some of your prayers already. He's answering your prayers. And that leads me to what it says in Matthew. uh I believe it's in Mark as well, but let's read Mark 11. Let's Mark 11:25. It confirms what I am even saying, because in order for God to answer your prayers, you have to forgive while you're praying. And it says, Mark 11:25, and when ye stand praying, forgive if ye have aught against any, that your Father also which is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. So here we have a spiritual law of praying and forgiving at the same time. In order for us to be forgiven, we have to forgive while we're praying, so our prayers can be answered, for God to forgive us, and to answer so many other prayers that we need answered. And if we don't, it says in the following verse, but if ye do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. So the things that we want to repent from, we want to be delivered from, God is not going to forgive if um if you do not forgive others. So while sometimes, I always say this, a lot of people get confused when you are in the midst of going through something, right? And it seems like you are unforgiving on the outside. And that's why God tells us to forgive with our heart, because he knows our heart more than anything. And that's why God tells us, like, well, I think a lot of us say that God knows our heart, and I don't want to use that too loosely, because God does actually know our heart, but we can't use that for everything. But in this case, he does know our heart, and he tells us to forgive our heart from our heart. So in one way, when we tell our story, when we tell our testimony, it can look like we are unforgiving, and we're not forgiving the person that afflicted us in a way. And I can understand why some people may look and see like they think that you're hurt and upset and mad. I have gone through something similar just recently, and it looks like that I was mad and upset, and I'm like, no, that's not always the case, because at the same time, we have a testimony to speak. If somebody's on the other side of that story, if somebody's on the other side and they have played a part in your life that was probably negative, most likely negative, then that's on them. They decided to do what they did, but that doesn't mean that you can't tell your story because you don't want people to think that you're unforgiving, or people think that you're unforgiving. If somebody afflicted me, somebody did something to me, then they did something to me. It's not my fault, is it? So for a lot of us, we are scared to tell our testimony because we're scared to look a particular type of way. And for some of us, these are authority figures that have disappointed us and did things to us our whole lives, and they they don't want to dishonor anything or anybody, and that's not always the case. We a lot of people know what I'm talking about when I say honor. When God tells us to honor certain people in our life, and those two people are particularly our parents. And sometimes our parents don't always get it right. They don't always get it right. And if one of the parents or both of your parents did something to you, you have the right to tell your story. Sure, you should still honor them, but if they did something to you, I mean, because where do we draw the line, right? Where do we draw the line of saying what they did or speaking on something that they did? I gave an example on my Instagram, and I basically said, if a parent or whoever, I say a parent, if a parent SA'd you when you were a kid, and it caused you so much trauma and hurt over the years, and you're just now probably getting over it, and it affected you, infected your relationships with other people, are you not in your rights, in your mean to tell that, to speak that, and to tell what happened? This is a test. We have testimonies for a reason. These things tested us through our childhood, through our adulthood, and then we get to a place of being reborn. So if they are a part of your testimony, they are a part of your testimony. How you go about it, it does play a part in if it's dishonorable or honorable. But a wise person told me, right, you don't understand the actual meaning of dishonor or honor, because when you honor people that gave birth to you, or a person that gave birth to you, that gave you life in a way, you create boundaries with those people. You set an example for those people. You set an example so great that they even learn from you, being older than you. You see? And the truth, like I always say, the truth can never be dishonorable. If it's the truth, it's the truth. But I don't want to veer off too much. But my point is, forgive with wisdom. God, if he's continuously sending you dreams and visions or any messages, if you hear him audibly, to not deal with certain people that you no longer are connected to, then he's telling you that for a reason, even if you have forgiven them. But don't look at it as you being unforgiving because you don't want to reconcile, because those people will ruin everything. They will ruin everything for you. The spirit of backwardness is real. The spirit of delay is real. They will stop you from growing, from excelling, just being in their space. They will ruin it for you. Do not go back if you don't have to. If you are told to not go, do not go. They will ruin it for you. And a lot of us have to learn that lesson over and over and over and over, because we are such in love with people. And we have to remember the verse in the book of Luke when it says that if you do not hate your mother, your father, your brother, or whoever that are close to you, then you are not worthy of God's the journey with God, the journey with Christ. You are not worthy of it. Because the minute that they come along, they can distract you. They can come in between your relationship with God. And of course, you should always love your family, love them, regardless of what happens. But you never let them come in between anything that you have with God, with whatever God is telling you to do. Because we saw so many things in the Bible where family have come in between and have disappointed the people in the Bible, or the brother has come against the other brother, the daughter-in-law has come against the mother, or whoever. There's too many examples for us to not take heed. Cain killed Abel. Do you realize that a person, a human, can be so wicked in their heart that they will take the life of their own brother? They will do so wickedly to the people that are connected to them through blood. So with those examples, how could you not, how could you ever put a human on the same level as God? How could you ever worship them and put them on a level as God, put them on a pedestal to think that they are more important than God? They're never more important than God. If a human has I'll say the potential to do that to their mother or to their brother, to whoever, how do you, would you ever put anything past anybody with the given examples of all the family that has betrayed each other in the Bible? You see what I'm saying? So it's like God already spoke all of these things to us, and there's nothing new under the sun, like it says in Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun. So when you are forgiving, you forgive with wisdom. Forgive with wisdom. Let go, let God. But you don't have to reconcile. You do not have to be under certain people. Like I said, you may have to reconcile. God may want you to reconcile. But there is a time period sometimes when God does not want you to be around people. He does not want you to be in the same space as people because it's going to stunt your growth. And if you decide to go back, it is it can change the trajectory of your life. It's always those one things, those huge events in your life that you look back on and it was like, dang, that changed the whole trajectory of my life. And that's exactly what the spiritual realm shows us. And that's why God talks to us so much in the spiritual realm when we're having dreams and having visions. One thing that you don't obey can change something. It can be a ripple effect depending on how big it is. If it's something, when you waking up with knots in your stomach and you feel the pressure of what you saw in the dreams and it's coming in the physical, God is really trying to protect you from something. He's trying to show you. He's trying to make you feel worried to some degree. God said he will come in our dreams at night and will cause us to be in fear from what we see, so we can walk in obedience, because it will cause us to fall, and we don't want to fall. And no matter how much, that's why you have to regulate your emotions, so you will not let your emotions guard your heart. That's why it says guard your heart, because through your heart your emotions come through and they consume you, and you let people play on the emotions, they can come get you, reel you back in. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You don't hold on to bitterness, regret, or anything. But if they think that you're not forgiving, let them think that. That's on them. That's on them. But you know that you're forgiving because God told us to forgive from the heart. And it's evident about what you do in secret when you are forgiving from your heart. You're praying for them. You're speaking on their name in a positive light. Probably not when you tell your story, because you know, if they did it, they did it. But it'll seem like the harsh when you say certain things. But the truth can be harsh sometimes, and then that's just the real a real thing. Where the truth can be harsh. So if it sounds harsh, it don't mean that you don't love them, but it's the truth. But it's it's a it's a way to go about forgiving. It's a way to go about it, and you have to know how to have balance with speaking your testimony, reconciling, and forgiving. So that's all, guys. I hope you understood. I hope the Holy Spirit gave you some inclination of what I am saying, how I conveyed it. I I hope you understood. I hope it impresses so well on your heart, so you can apply it to your journey and what you have going on with any situation. So that's it. That's all. I'm out. I'll be back with another video, and I'll talk to you guys.